Welcome back to another episode of the Combat Conversation. I'm Mitchell Torres, and on this episode, we are joined by Daniel Goodwin, a black belt under Cassio Werneck, and actually one of my instructors. Daniel was a really cool dude, had a lot of good stories with him, and hope you guys enjoyed this conversation because I really did. So thank you, Daniel. Here you guys go. What is happening? The Combat Conversation is back, live from Roseville, California at Werneck Family Jiu-Jitsu. And today we're with Daniel Goodwin, and as always, Jason.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on, Daniel?
Not much, guys. How's it going?
Pretty good. Dan runs a solid class here on Mondays. And, well, I put out questions for Daniel. The first time I ever did this because I had a feeling that people were going to chime in. And, man, we got a bunch of them. But let's just start. How did you even get into Jiu-Jitsu to begin with?
How did I find out about it, or how did I get interested?
How did you get interested?
Probably just like anybody else, saw the first UFC, how Hoist just walked through all those guys. And back then, the only schools that were really around were down south.
Okay. Where were you living at the time?
Sacramento.
Oh, Sacramento. Okay.
Yeah.
It was sparse pickings then, wasn't it?
There wasn't anything around. And then fast forward, 5-6 years. Then you had the Hickson Gracie affiliate that was here, and then Brutta's. But other than that, around that time, it was Caesars.
What made you want to get into it?
Just watching it,
Really?
Just to be able to, because at that time, I'd done kickboxing, so it was strictly stand-up.
Right. But you had an urge for combat.
Yeah,
as
soon as we, and even watching the first one, and the guys I lived with, watching Pat Smith fight.
Okay.
Being a kickboxer, just like, okay, he's going to tear through these guys.
Yeah.
Winner of the Sabaki Challenge.
Yeah. And then he fights Shamrock, who had some ground experience.
It was a heel hook, right?
And that was it, yeah. But to watch Hoist just go through these guys, like, no big deal, all the way up until he fought Chemo.
Right.
But like I said, there wasn't anything really around, so stuck with the kickboxing. And then early 2002, happened to go to a boxing match that they had at the Radisson.
Okay.
And ran into a couple guys that had trained at the Hickson affiliate, but broke away and were doing a couple classes a week at the Covars in Carmichael. Got to talking to them, and then for about a year and a half, did 2 days a week and then kind of an open mat on Saturdays.
Okay.
And it was a blue belt that ran it. And then a purple belt would come in every once in a while, and it was like,
Was it hard for you to transition into grappling from coming from a kickboxing background?
Yeah. Like the mindset you had was it's never going to go to the ground, one punch, that's it. And it's still kind of like that in somebody's minds, but yeah.
What was your first experience on the mat like? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. First class, the guy that ran the class was my height, but about 260 pounds.
Oh, shit.
So it was, it was just basically getting smashed
God
the whole
dang.
time. But the good thing about it, rolling with that guy so much, I developed my butterfly guard because obviously I couldn't close my guard around him.
Wow.
So it kind of helped me out. But just from watching, like anybody, you watch the videos, you see the books, you kind of recognize stuff like how in close your guard or closing your half guard.
So were you doing a lot of extra studying going to these classes?
A little bit afterwards because, once I got into it and got a little more familiar with it and knew who to watch and who to follow. Because back then, you didn't have what you have now. The big thing was X-Guard or, just none of the fancy Barambolos or Spider Guards. And, there was 3 tournaments. You had Worlds, Pan Ams, and U.S. Open. Mm-hmm. And you only had Pan Ams and U.S. Open here.
Right.
Because up until 2007, 7 or 8, Worlds was in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And then they had Jiu-Jitsu by the Sea, so there was another tournament, and then you had the Gracie Open.
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu by the Sea was my first tournament.
Yeah, and that's all you had. So opportunities to be able to do tournaments like there is now, it wasn't around.
What were you searching in grappling? Like, was it to compete? Was it just to
in the beginning? It was to compete, but then I never really got into it enough to follow it.
Yeah,
did a couple tournaments, but it was more of the learning aspect,
right?
And then eventually wanting to teach.
Yeah, That's what I was going to ask you. Did you have that urge, like, that you wanted to pick up and show people what you were learning?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, to watch these guys, especially when the purple belt would come in. You know, blue belt at that time was a big deal.
Right.
You know, but then the purple belt would come in, and just to watch him roll and to teach class, it was crazy to see the differences in the levels, but just how basic it was. But what you could do to somebody that didn't know jiu-jitsu.
Crazy. So how long did it take you to get to that level where you felt like, all right, I'm in it right now? Because
Like hooked?
Yeah, to get hooked.
Within the first couple months.
Really? Wow.
Because, you know, I was, like anybody, you know, I was lifting weights, thought I was strong, you know, and then would go against guys that were smaller than me, and didn't matter how strong I was, you know. Good for that first 30 seconds, and then that was it.
One of the questions actually people asked me was that, how does weightlifting play into your jiu-jitsu?
Before, when I started lifting, it was for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You know, mirror muscle or whatever you want to call it. But now, as I've gotten older, and I lift to maintain.
How much
so
do you lift?
I lift 7 days a week.
Wow.
But I found that balance between being able to train 7 days a week and lift to where I'm able to prevent my injuries. And if I do get hurt, they don't last as long. I think the longest I've ever been out was I had a shoulder impingement, but that was from lifting.
Right.
Was probably 2 months.
Wow.
But other than that, everything's
That's
healed
amazing.
fast, or you know, hasn't been very bad. But I don't lift to my max. So when I work out, it's hard, but it's stuff that benefits me on the mat, but then keeps me healthy.
Have you always been in the weights?
Yeah, I started when I was 17.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So if that, now at this point, I'd say that's your DNA, man. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's if I miss a workout, I feel like I've lost 10 pounds or I've lost my strength. You know, it's become such a habit, just like training.
It's funny because when I've rolled with you before, and I feel like you don't use no strength at all.
It took me a while with most people that start.
Yeah.
You know, it's learning to relax, learning how to not hold your breath. I mean, strength helps, but it's not a necessity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because your sweep with me was all technique where I'm light, and then there's a house on me. After the sweep, there's a house on me.
That's exactly it.
It's that at that point, size kind of doesn't matter. But I remember back when I first started training with Cassio, there was a guy that came in probably 150 pounds, and he trained with Pedro Sauer in Utah. Wow. Small guy, right? But his pressure and his position made him feel like he weighed 400 pounds.
Right. Damn.
Like just his hand positioning and his grips, like you couldn't move. So the technique's there, doesn't matter how strong you are.
One question that's interesting about you, Dan, I think it's nice to have somebody that has a complementary habit. You know, a lot of people tend to be all jiu-jitsu or I'm going to all this. How is your weightlifting routine shaped to mesh with your jiu-jitsu? You said you don't max. Is it a lot of reps? Is it a lot of sets? What's the best way
I'll
for you to
lift by percentage. So I kind of go by what my max would be, and then I'll go off that. I never lift to 100%, just so I don't burn my body out. But the lifts complement my training. So deadlifts, kettlebells, a lot of odd object stuff. So farmer carries, Olympic lifts for the explosion, you know, deadlifts and squats for the base. You know, not a lot of fancy high reps.
Bench muscle lifts.
Yeah, not anymore. Because back probably 2008, started CrossFit. And back then it was like you tell someone, hey, oh, I do CrossFit. And then you have to explain, okay, this, and this.
Like jiu-jitsu was.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knew about it, you know, and now it's you say CrossFit and you watch it on TV, there's gyms everywhere. So, you know, I got into that, and that helped with jiu-jitsu, with strength portion, the cardiovascular. So then I went and got certified, you know, and that was crazy. So it was certification in Santa Cruz. And so it was about 2009. So you have to figure for a level 1, it was $1,000 just to be able to go for a weekend.
Wow.
So, and the gym I was at, there was 50 people there. And that was just one, and they had them every weekend all over the state.
Holy shit.
So the guy that was running it, he's like, okay, how many people here have done CrossFit? People raise their hands, okay? How many people have never done CrossFit? And then he asked, okay, how many have never been in a CrossFit gym? So like 10 guys raised their hands. He's like, so what are you guys doing here? They're personal trainers. So their bosses wanted them to come just so they had it on their resume. And it's funny, Cassio used to do privates for one of the guys that worked for HQ. And at the time was offered an affiliation from Glassman, the guy who runs it. And he's like, nah, I'll pass. But it wasn't big, you know.
Yeah.
And he was doing CrossFit back then.
Yeah.
So, you know, did all the workouts, and he still, that's the kind of workouts he does.
Wow.
But, you know, and then to see how much it's picked up, he kind of kicked himself in the butt. But
What's your time frame on getting these workouts in?
after work. So I try and keep them, unless it's the weekend where I have more time, within an hour. So it'll be a compound lift and then accessories. You know, just so, and then depending, like when I have kids classes, I have a short amount of time. So it'll be more conditioning stuff. So kettlebells or body weight stuff.
Damn, man. I mean,
7 days a week and jiu-jitsu?
But the way that I lift and train, it allows me to keep that pace.
yeah, that's something I always tell myself I'm going to start getting more into it. I mean, I do a little bit of kettlebells, not enough, but just enough to, because I've had shoulder injuries. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to do a little bit because I got super weak for a second there. And I keep telling myself I need to step up. I need to step up because I haven't done weights since high school, dude. And now I'm old, man. So it's like, shit. How do I start? How do I start back? How do you recommend someone getting back into it?
I'll always ask, like, what are you looking
Yeah.
to get out of it, like
Right.
benefit-wise? If you're solely just lifting weights, you know, if you want strength, if you want size,
It's always going to be different.
it's going to be different. But, you know, and then you have to work around injuries. Like you said, you have shoulder injuries.
Yeah.
Kettlebells are great for rehab.
Yeah, that's
You
exactly
know,
why I started
it's
doing it.
it's not a barbell, it's not a dumbbell, it's practical strength.
Right.
You know, it's funny to see guys that can shoulder press 90-pound dumbbells. You know, I used to take my kettlebells into the gym, and I had a 72-pound that I would do swings and snatches.
Damn.
So this guy picks it up and can't press it up. But it's because of the weight displacement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different than what a dumbbell would be. So that's why you see the old school circus strongmen doing a bent press of, you know, 300 pounds.
Yeah.
As opposed to
But
somebody
75.
that,
That's that's heavy, dude. I'm like a
But
49.
it's all-
You made me feel
you
like
know,
shit.
but it's all technique.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
if it was 25 pounds, you do it wrong.
Yeah.
You're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah, mine's a 40 pounder, and man, I have to lift that thing perfect. Because if I'm like a little whack off, I'm not going to do it. And you'll feel it. You'll feel you're off balance, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like with anything. You know, you get fatigued. Your technique starts to get weak. You know, and then when you start to not pay attention, that's when you get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So, when did you end up joining Cassio?
About the beginning of 2003.
And how long was that from
He
your
had come. He had actually come for a seminar.
Okay.
And at that time, he had an interpreter, you know, so his English wasn't that good. And the Kovars had brought him
Yeah.
for a seminar. So he put the seminar on. And then a few months after that, they worked to get him to come. So I'd say the beginning of 2003.
And how long was that after your initial start of jiu-jitsu?
About a year.
Oh,
little
wow.
Bit,
So
little
you-
bit after a year, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, so I've been with him since 2003.
Wow. And you've had your black belt under for what is it?
Since 2010, December 2010.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you tell people there's black belts and then there's black
Yeah,
belts.
but it's funny. Like it's like time in the gym compared to time outside.
Yeah.
It feels like it slows down. I mean, this December will be 8 years.
Right.
But it doesn't feel like I've had my belt for 8 years.
Wow.
You know, or because I see the same people every day.
Exactly.
And you don't realize like how people age or what they look unless you look at pictures from back then.
Who the hell is that guy?
You know,
right?
or you realize, oh wow, you know, this guy doesn't train anymore.
Yeah,
I haven't
you
seen
can
this
see
guy
it.
in a long time.
This guy got whacked. This guy's gone.
But it's just weird. Like it doesn't seem like I've been training for that long, or I've known the people I train with for that long. I think it's because you see them every day.
Yeah.
So you don't. It's just a habit.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. You know, because this is since I've been here. This is like I'm here more than I am at home.
Me too.
It's just, I'm just walking here like I don't.
Yeah,
it's
that's the same
crazy.
with me.
Yeah.
You know, and then when people, oh, you know, how long you been training? They tell you, it's like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, I remember you like 6 months ago. You know, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like it slows down.
That's crazy.
But
Yeah.
I also think it's the atmosphere that he creates. You know, it's not just like a job. you go to work, you kind of talk to the people you work with, you might hang out with them, but with what he's established, I mean, everybody hangs out with everybody. I mean, there's not just cliques. It's like everybody hangs out as a group.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll say. I've never seen that in any other gym like I see it here. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's just what he's, big thing for him was like no egos. He's never allowed that in the gym ever.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You get people that come in that are super, like shut down, quiet. And within a few months, man, you can't get them to shut up.
Well, that's why I went first, Jason. That's why I want to record now, because now you don't stop talking.
That's right.
But it's what he's allowed. And even with his other schools, it's the same way. You know when you're in a school of one of his students.
Right.
Yeah. It's just the atmosphere. It's crazy. It's hard to explain unless you're there.
And that's why people need to come in here and check these schools out, because it's life changing. It really is. I believe so. For me, definitely has been.
Yeah, for me too. And as somebody I've been training here just a little over a year, and so I've gone from feeling like that stranger, outsider, new guy to like every time I'm like excited to see everybody here, because I'm like, oh, I can work on that with
because
that dude,
it happens that fast. I mean, you develop friendships super quick.
Yeah,
and he. Like I said, it's just hard to explain unless you're there. It's a family. That's why it's like you have your family outside, and then you have your jiu-jitsu family. And it allows people to leave their stress or whatever outside.
Exactly.
And I've had it. I've talked to people about it. You don't want to come.
Yeah.
I mean, there's days that I just want to go home. But I know if I don't go, I'm going to feel worse.
Yeah, that weight of the day will actually sit on you. Because there's been times that I come home from work and I have like 30 minutes to shower and get here. And if I sit down on that couch, it's a wrap.
Magnet.
So I'm like, I'm going to call this dude up right now. I'm going to say, you going to be there? Because I have to go if he says,
Dude, I don't know how many times I've been sitting there. I'm like, get the text from you, Mitchell.
And it's those days that it's, it's the best training you've ever had.
Right. And one thing I'll say too, since being here, like, I have no work stress at all. I mean, I figured this being here so much that instead of thinking about the job, and I know I shouldn't say this, but instead of thinking about the job, I'm thinking about like, damn, I need to not get tapped out by this move today. I really do. Like, I'm over here wiring shit. I'm like thinking, man, how the hell am I going to get out of this? Because I got conned at 3 times. And so my day goes by in a flash,
Dude, you know how I kill meetings at work? I think about how to do reverse hip escape. Like,
you've progressed, man. You've done better.
I've killed a lot of meetings.
Off your elbows now, like you're pulling yourself with your heels.
And that's the part about the instruction here is they accept that some students will just have some mental blocks they run into,
that's why I make sure that we do them every class.
You know what? You got to face it.
And that's why I like a Monday class. A Monday class is so entertaining to me.
No, it's so
and I have to make sure to point it out. Yeah. Like, okay, these are for Jason.
That's right.
He needs to practice.
You got to cut the crust off the sandwich.
Cheer him on.
But one thing I'll say, Jason's come so far since I've been here.
Really? Thanks,
dude,
it's too nice.
I'm like, who is this guy? Why is he going crazy in the very beginning? I'm like, what's he doing?
Hey, man, you're the one that's got to turn it up. We got Dan watching. It's like,
All right. Hey, so from when you first started, what would you say you were playing the most? And like, anything that you started in the beginning, technique-wise, still there to this day?
My butterfly guard.
Your butterfly? Yeah. Okay, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Because, like I said, when I started, all the guys were bigger. There's a few guys I could actually get a closed guard around, but it was butterfly. So back then you had Marcelo Garcia, real big, X guard, butterfly guard. So that was one guy I would watch. Teddy Day was another guy that had a really good butterfly guard, but he also had just crazy passing, so
I go back and look at those videos, so those guys are incredible.
And you still see them, a lot of those guys using the basics.
Yeah.
Hodger, perfect example.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Takedown, mount, cross choke. Takedown, close guard to the back, choke, arm bar. The basics still work.
And I like that with Hodger because his first match with Busheka, he ran all that newfangled crazy stuff Busheka does, and then you give Roger a guy that's a master of the basics to look at the film and just totally dominates him the second time.
Yeah, I think it was
like that.
One of the expos when he went against Comprito or Margarita, one of those guys, and it was just arm across the body, took the back, choke.
How tall is that dude? That's a big dude, right?
I want to say 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Long, too,
And he uses like every...
But, then you get guys that have talked about competing against it, and they say he's just like a blanket.
Wow.
When he gets there, there's nothing. You can't move. And one of the other guys that was like that was most people won't recognize unless you're old school is Sergio Pena. And that guy's known for his pressure, like side control, mount. He's come a few times to the academy and visited and trained. The guys that have trained with him say it's just like sand. I mean, just he gets on you and you're not going anywhere.
And so you've been at Cassio School for a while, and the people that come in and come out, like how much talent have you seen come in and come out these doors?
Well, you have to figure the guys that have come in and trained. You know, we've had Couture, we've had Frank Mir, Dan Henderson, Joe Stevenson, Scott Smith, James Irving, Uriah. You know, a lot of those guys came in because once he was here, he was technically the only black belt in Sacramento.
Yeah, when I tell people these stories of who passed through these schools, you know, because they're like, they're shocked, you know, like, man, you know, in Sacramento, all this happened. Because I'm not originally from here, but when I came here, I was looking like, man, all these people pass through Cassio schools. You know, it's amazing seeing everybody that comes through here, you know?
Well, that's like you look at the list of people he's competed against.
Exactly.
You know, and some of these guys are in the UFC now.
Fabricio, Gonzaga.
Yeah, and it's like, and you don't really think about it, you know, because we're friends, and it's like, and then you go back and you think, dude, he fought him, and he's fought him, and he's beat that guy, you know? Yeah,
it's crazy. Especially when I see him against Gonzaga, it's like, what the hell? It's crazy.
There's a highlight, if you Google Cassio Werneck highlight reel, you can see him hitting a sweep on, I think, Verdum or Gonzaga.
Yeah, he's
they were like 250.
Well, because you got to, back then, I mean, the UFC was big, but those guys were primarily jiu-jitsu or competing at the Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And even at that time, it was invite only. So that's why you saw guys like Frank Trigg, Matt Hughes, Rico Rodriguez, you know, competing against, you know, grapplers.
Yeah.
Because it was invite only, so it was like a big deal.
That was a big deal for me when I was like, I would look it up on YouTube. You know, you'll see like Ricardo Arona versus Tito Ortiz, and to me that was a big deal. Like, man, these guys are gonna grapple.
It was almost like battle of the styles, because I still remember seeing, I think it was Rico hit a knee bar on Nogueira, and that was like a big, like, because the Americans would always go down and get tuned up, like Matt Lynn, they get tuned up. You know, our guys would go down there and get tuned up, but like now and then one of our guys would score a win over them. But it really was like playing a football game on the road going down there, you know. And Matt Hughes, definitely.
Since you started with kickboxing and you got into grappling, was there any idea of like getting into mixed martial arts or anything like that?
You always toss it around, you know, but back then it was illegal here.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had, I mean, there were guys that were doing the basements, the box cars.
I always forget that because I bring it up because, you know, like I remember, I think it was 2006, 2005 when it got legal in California.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah, so I remember like, because I would do smokers, like I would try to get them in. So I'm training it. I used to work at a diesel shop. I'd have gloves on in the lube bay.
Yeah.
And just, what are you training for? Like, well, I got to put on weight because there's no weight class for me. And I got to do whatever I can. I'm working the graveyard shift. And they're like, where are you going to go? I'm like, well, there's a casino.
Yeah, you know, because you had Calusa.
Yeah.
You had Lemoore.
Yeah.
So it was all the India casinos.
Yep.
You know, I
Mountain.
remember. I remember driving down there to watch Uriah fight Cole Escovedo.
That's the Apache Kid.
Yeah, when he beat him. You know, and it's raining, and and in between rounds they're putting a trash can in the middle.
Yep.
You know, and that's when like the tap out guys were still in their van.
Selling
they were
out of the back of it.
they were selling. You know, Charles was putting his makeup on in the mirror, and you know, and it's crazy to see how far it's.
And you look at those old
advanced.
You know, you have like Diego Sanchez, Joe Stevenson.
And that's when they were like all 185 pounds.
Right.
Because then you had Grappler's Quest, and a lot of those guys competed on that.
Yeah.
That's right, because they'd make a living, man. David Terrell.
Yeah. Right. I remember watching him fight Dean Lister at a Gracie Open.
Oh, wow.
And before, I think even after that fight, no one had ever scored points on him.
Yeah, that's right, Terrell.
You know, because that was that team. You had Terrell, you had Melendez, you had Gil Castillo.
Yeah.
You know, it was that team at Caesars.
So good, dude. God dang. Actually, bringing up Caesars guys, let's talk a little bit about this Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier at UFC coming up.
Hey.
I don't even know if it's going to happen. I really don't know.
They announced it, and then they talk about, well, you know, because then they announced the Khabib and Conor.
Yeah. And then,
so I think, you know, and then they both come out, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, I think it's because they saw the potential to make money.
Yeah.
So they're headlining a card that there's nobody on.
Yeah.
Why not make us the co-main event where these guys are asking for $10 million a piece or whatever to fight each other?
Man. I like that fight for,
I love that.
Nate. Nate and I like them both, but I
It's a
think
good stylistically.
it
It's
is.
good.
I think Nate gets it though because he's more
You think?
traditional. Yeah, his reach and he will use a jab where Dustin's more throwing hooks,
Yeah.
and the size, the height, and
See, I think Dustin.
He
Because,
really-
and that's the thing that I'm getting tired of. I mean, having covered the fight game for so long, boxing, MMA, is I get tired of. I mean, fighters have to make a buck. I understand that, and we certainly, not everybody can be Travis Iron Man Fulton and have 300 fights,
Right?
Like, hey, Ted and Terry call me on the speed dial. I'm there at Kanaka with a gym bag. No, be reasonable. But I hate it when guys get in that mentality. Well, like kind of like Nate is like, well, I beat Conor McGregor once, I had the rematch, and I'm not going to fight anybody to him. And it's kind of like. It ebbs and flows. There's an incredibly deep 155-pound division right now. You got Tony Ferguson on the sidelines, who I think beats both of them.
Yeah.
So they can afford to make these marquee contender matchups, and I just want to see these guys fight and square off. But as for the matchup, I like Dustin because I think Nate's been off a long time. I really like how Dustin's adapted to 155. I think his kicks will be a big game. One of the things that's always missed from the Diaz game is the kicks. They've never really developed the kicks, but it's a great luxury to have a fight like that as opposed to
It's because people want to see it.
people want to see it's not like Mighty Mouse's division where like thank God he lost to Cejudo because who else was he going to fight
And people complained about that. He was never a headliner, never sold tickets.
Yeah.
But he made guys look
Yeah.
like they were beginners.
I just think they need to put. Well, I think the UFC just needs to put more on the actual fight itself, because everybody wants to watch the good matches. Everybody, no matter what,
Yeah,
But
doesn't
maybe it's coming from the entertainment business part where these businesses they want big views, But if you just did it like they did, the best guy will fight the best guy. Look how far it got just off that. The best guy is always going to fight the best guy.
You earned it. Back
Yeah.
then, you earned the right to be able to fight the champ or be ranked number one or number two.
You remember boxing in the 90s and the 80s. I mean, there was none of this holdout. I mean, it was the
I
best
want
guys.
250 million or I'm not going to fight.
Well, and the thing is like, I would say 3 out of 10 times somebody gets injured anyway. I mean, like, what is October 2nd, the date for Conor and Khabib? I'm literally counting down that. I'll believe it when they're both in the cage.
Exactly.
Because you and I have gone through this with Ferguson Khabib, the fourth cancellation. We were both on suicide watch. I'm so done with I think that they're smart to set up the Poirier Diaz just to have somebody in camp and ready to fill in.
And it seems like the fights that they make huge deals, like the Jones and
yeah.
Cormier, they
Those
turn
are
out
the
to be
ones.
garbage.
Exactly.
But when they have guys that don't talk smack, that are super respectful,
Yeah.
those are the ones, the fights that turn out to be better than the ones where these guys, like a soap opera.
Well, even like that Robert Whitaker and Yoel Romero,
Yeah.
those guys didn't really talk any shit to each other, and they came out throwing
It was
everything
a
at each
great
other.
fight.
They were throwing everything at each other.
Amazing.
What do you think about the Khabib and Conor?
And I thought about this a lot today. I don't like the fight.
You don't like
I
it?
like it, but I don't like. But you know what I don't like about it? This is an either-or fight. Conor either starches him standing, because I think Khabib is very technically limited. He's very predictable. His
Well, I
footwork
think
is
Al
very
Quinta
basic.
brought
Exposed
out,
a little bit.
was he
Yeah.
even ranked? Like he was
No,
made, not even in the top 10.
Like 10 and a half.
And the best thing about it is he had nothing to lose. So
Yeah.
he came in with that mentality and he brought out a lot of
He did.
shortcomings.
I think that's what made Conor sign that contract. Oh, it's on now, you know?
Right. Like, oh, now I can. But the thing that I don't like about that fight is that it goes one of two ways. Conor either smokes him early, standing up, and then we get to hear for another 6 months and another gross misdemeanor or felony that's pled down about how great he is, or he gets wrestle smashed by Khabib. I like the Ferguson fight against Conor or Khabib better because it's multidimensional and there's ebb and flow to it. But I just don't. You don't have to wake me up in the morning to tell me that Khabib's going to wrestle smash Conor. I already know that, and I know that left hand coming down the pike is Khabib walks in like a dumb Kazakh and gets killed. Sorry, but it's just his head's on a fucking pole.
And
He's gonna
this is the type of fight that turns into Conor Khabib 2, Conor
Yeah.
Khabib 3.
It'll drag
you
out.
know?
Right.
As before, when you had fights like that, it was Couture and Liddell or Ortiz,
Yeah.
where, they hated the guy so much, they wanted to watch the fight.
Well, I remember that I was at I think it was UFC 54, 56, and when they announced Liddell Couture 2 or 3, I can't remember which one it was. When they announced it, the crowd went crazy just off the preview. Like you would have thought that fight was happening right there. Everybody stood. It was the one where Nate Corey got starched by
Rich Franklin.
It was that one. Everybody went crazy,
Because back then, they didn't fight for money. They
Right.
fought
Yeah.
because they enjoyed. I mean, they made money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't no doubt about that. Nothing like what they get now.
Right.
But people liked to watch those guys fight.
Yeah.
They had fans. It wasn't they hate this guy, they like this guy.
Yeah.
They were good guys outside, good guys in the ring.
Yeah.
And people wanted to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, the skills sold it all, you know?
The skills, but that's the thing that started. I've started to wonder if the injury pullout rate is bigger because the money is bigger. I wonder about that. You know what I mean?
Like almost like they're holding out to
Yeah,
see if
like,
they can
dude,
make more.
I
or
can't blow
see
this.
who's going to be on that card.
Dan's like, if I don't beat Jason, then I'm down in like 100 and 100 territory when I could take that next level up. I wonder because it seems like they pull out so much now that it's like, dude, I'll believe it when they're there, man. And I hate that.
Right now, they announced that welterweight division, that welterweight tournament for Bellator. You see that one?
No.
Have you seen anything about the Bellator welterweight tournament? It has an MVP
Rory?
versus Rory's in the
Daily,
front.
right? Is it Daily?
MVP against Daly
Yeah.
in the first round.
That's good matchmaking.
Who is Rory? Rory's going to get John Fitch his first round. I mean, there's a tons of dude, and I think Lorenz Larkin's even like a substitute ready to go into battle. So I was okay. You know, I always bash Bellator because I feel like they're always doing like a show. Like it's either half-assed, like you know who's gonna win. You always know, but this time I'm kind of excited for this. You know,
That's what they need.
I mean, you have
Suspense.
Daily MVP the first round to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Like
And then you still have the two heavyweights left.
oh yeah, who is that?
You've got Shonen and Fedor.
Then you
And
have
then,
Matreon and Bader.
yeah.
That's the one I want to see.
I mean, you know, it's like maybe the senior league.
Yeah.
But
I do want to see that, man.
people still want to watch those guys fight because,
Hey.
you know, they're kind of getting an age, getting up there, so they want to fight more than just make the money.
I think Bader's in a starch Matreon, dude.
I would root for him. I'm glad those guys have a means to make a good living. They're still fun guys to watch. And when you're the second tier promotion like Bellator, you've got to take a different tack. Like you said, you've got to repurpose people.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
go
come up
old
with new
school. You do the
ideas.
tournament style, and then
I
you
love
let them
that.
fight. Yeah.
I love
Okay,
that.
so I'm gonna get off the subject for a little bit because one of the questions I had to ask because I got hit by this one a lot. Dan's horror movie list. What are your? Give me the top 3 on your horror movie list.
Like we were talking before, I'm like, it's old school.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of the new stuff because it just deals with all the same shit. You have ghosts or demons or, you know, not that the old school ones didn't.
Who knew?
But I would say my top 3 that I could probably watch all the time would be, it's kind of a B movie, but Near Dark.
I don't think I've ever seen Near Dark.
It's an old school vampire movie, but it had Bill Paxton. It was one of his first movies. Lance Henriksen. It's about this family travels around vampires, and they just go in this big ass Winnebago. Kind of looks like Eddie Griswold.
Oh shit.
But guy meets one of the daughter. She's a vampire. He gets bit, and it's just. But the oldest one out of the group was this kid that was turned at like 12 years old.
Oh shit.
So he's like 4,000 years old.
But he's 12.
But he's 12. Yeah, and he complains, you know, and all these
can't
other
buy
ones.
beer.
Yeah,
That's the worst part
exactly. All the other ones are adults.
Oh,
But it's
funny.
just a good old school horror.
Yeah.
And then going way back, you have Phantasm.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. That was a good. I remember the posters for that one at the Ritter
Horrible
Center.
special effects, but just, you know, that's when they had to make a movie.
Yeah.
Didn't have the CGI, didn't have all the computer effects.
Yeah.
Like, it had to, it's not going to be good, but it's just a classic because of how bad it is.
Well, even
Throw
like
back
the
something.
original Evil Dead. The original Evil Dead is corniest looking shit,
Yeah.
but it scared the shit out
yeah,
of me,
because they
dude.
had to
That's
rely
right.
on
the presentation.
camera
Yeah.
and, you know, decent special effects.
To
but
this day,
like,
that movie scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's the woods, dude. It's dark.
yeah, and the camera just
Creepy
creeping
house.
out.
Yeah. But in my top 3, I would say Near Dark, Phantasm. This is a little newer, but I did like the concept, was The Descent.
Decent. That's the
That's the one with all the women that do the spelunking.
Oh,
Yeah.
where they go. They go to
So they
cave.
go in this cave.
Oh, yeah, they're
and
blind-
originally it
yeah.
was supposed to be planned, and then the girl that set it up,
that could be good.
it was actually a cave that had never been explored.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So it's these things that live, and it's just the way that they do it. So it's a lot of flare lighting, infrared, you know, the cameras.
Yeah,
so you
that is
just
a
kind
good
of
one.
see stuff through the cameras or
Right.
hear it. But I mean, it's something that could possibly happen,
Hey, those Thai soccer kids.
right? Yeah.
Hey, being lost, I'll tell you, I haven't seen that, but I still one of the scariest films ever was First Blood. When Sylvester Stallone got lost in the cave.
In the mine.
Yeah. And then like being underground.
Well, yeah, that's more anxiety.
Right.
Like, you don't know what's going to be at the end.
Right. It could be some rats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it ended up being rats, but like getting stuck or having it be a dead end.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you watch horror flicks, Jason?
Oh, just the Friday the 13th and the 70s and 80s stuff. Not recent stuff, but I do like that. It's a very important point you made is, they couldn't rely on the killer CGI with a terrible script and cheesy actors that look good.
So it was a lot of just even the music setup stuff, or you wouldn't even see a face like the original Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah,
Jason wasn't even in it; it was his mom.
Right? Yeah.
Right. So then when you had the second one,
people don't even know that,
and you never. It was just the potato sack with the eye cut out.
Right.
But it was a lot of seeing his feet or
a knife
hearing it exactly. It was a lot of like keeping you on edge. And then boom, now there's just too much script.
I still watch all the scary movies right now, dude.
Really?
And I'm like a scaredy cat, dude. I watch everything, and I'm like, damn it, man, I can't walk down the stairs. I can't do shit. And I tell myself, don't do it. Like, man, it's horrible.
It'll keep me up. I watched a director's cut of The Exorcist, which included the sign of Reagan, Linda. What was her name? Blair.
Yeah.
It was a scene that was too creepy. They cut it out. It was her walking upside down
the stairs backwards.
Dude, I didn't sleep for like 2 days. I couldn't unsee it. I was like, hey, no more. This is done.
A couple months ago, they have like a horror con or a comic deal here, and she was one of the guests.
Oh, she was there. Wow.
So she was there.
Wow.
She was there, and it was odd. She was there. Paul Sorvino from he was there. Taylor Maine, so the guy who played Michael Myers. So the line for her was like wrapped around the hallway and down. So my buddy and I were standing in it, and we're thinking, okay, it's because she's Linda Blair. So 2 hours later, we get up there. Well, she's got this deal where it's either a business she runs or like something that she promotes, and it's for saving dogs. So it's like fostering dogs or whatever it was. So what it was is she would get up there. Do you have a pet? What kind? And then she was giving out her flyers, talking about her book. Oh. So that's what was taking so long. It wasn't because people wanted to see her.
She was having conversation.
It's because she wouldn't stop talking. Yeah.
That's hilarious, dude. I went to I went to a Comic-Con before, and it was kind of the saddest thing I've ever been to. It was interesting, and it was also sad, dude, because
some of the people they have there,
I had the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine, and that was sad, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, did they at least have a line?
No, but they were all
like the wrestler.
They were all red faced, and he's like, "Want to sign an autograph? Want me to sign an autograph for you?" I'm like, "God."
Yeah, my buddy, same guy I went to this one with, went to one, and it was Honky Tonk Man and Brutus the Barber. Well, the thing is they don't let him keep the stuff. So Honky Tonk Man had his Intercontinental belt, but it was one that he had bought.
Damn.
Oh man.
So he's like taking the picture with it, and he's
not trying to lose track of it.
It's kind of sad.
It was sad.
Disappears.
I was all excited because I never really knew what went on there, So I seen the honky, like, oh shit, the Honky Tonk Man. Next thing they're trying to push stuff on me. Want to buy this? I'm like, man, you're like a drug dealer right now, dude.
He's got like a timeshare.
But he was hell of a red face, though. I was like, God damn, this dude's like itching for a beer right now.
You should have given him one. He probably would have given you, what was his signature move?
The shake, rattle, and roll.
Yeah.
Shake, rattle.
Come out saying that he hit people with his guitar.
That's right.
Oh, I used to love pro wrestling as a kid. I still like it, dude. I don't care.
Dude, one of the biggest heartbreaks in my life was I was 12, and it was right during the whole, it was the big heat between Roddy Piper and the Tonga Kid. And Roddy Piper had Piper's Pit, which was a great genius segment.
Yeah, right?
Like, just such genius programming. And, like, Tonga Kid came on and rated the set, and I was grabbing my older brother. I'm like, man, this is going to go down, man. This is going to go down. And he's like, hey, Jason, they don't do odds on professional wrestling in Vegas, right? I'm like, still real to me, damn it.
It took a while for me to get to stop watching it, dude. Because I remember the NWO stage.
Yeah.
To me, that's what got me back in. Oh shit, it's going back down, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I like that whole crossover between TNA and WCW.
Yeah.
And the WWE. I like that crossover because you didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, it kept you on edge.
And then plus you had every once in a while you have Shamrock go in there and Dan Severn. The crossovers.
Shamrock, Dangerous Man Alive.
Oh yeah, I remember that shit.
Dude, man.
He could cut a promo. Wasn't good on the mic.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
they used him a lot.
He was better in that role than he actually was in the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even as a kid, when I'd watch the UFC, I'm like, why does this guy have a super fight? He's never won any tournament. It's like, what's going on here? How come he's fighting Oleg Tektorov right now? What's going on in a boring ass match?
Like for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was crazy back then, man. So let's go back into grappling now because I started going off subject.
Big time wrestling is grappling.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
Once I get sidetracked, I go, dude.
But before we switch, there are still people that think it's real.
Yeah. Oh, there is.
But we, like my buddy and I, go to a lot of the shows when they have them here, and I mean we're old to where it's like we know that it's not real, but it's still just entertaining. I mean you cannot take away the athleticism these guys have.
Yeah.
And competing, every but 2 months, where they're not. Yeah. Injuries happen, all that stuff. But to watch and be that close and see the misses and the botches, and the guys still sell it though, like where they miss the they miss the key. They
believe watching the audience is the best part.
Yeah. Because people, I mean, it's just nuts to watch these people get into it.
Yeah, I've seen people have meltdowns, dude. Like I've seen people like freak out, like they're about to die, dude, because their guy lost.
Like
and they knew they're gonna lose, but they still freak out, dude.
To them, it's still real.
Yeah.
And then they freak out, like I said, if the guy loses or if they get hurt or something, they just
I think Josh Barnett's making a killing in Japan right now with pro wrestling. I believe so.
Yeah. No, he's like totally gone.
They did that New Japan wrestling. I think they brought it back.
Wrestling?
Yeah, and he's like one of the main headliners, killing, doing it, even in commentary.
Yeah, him and Mara, I think Mara went on with that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's
like when Pride was around, a lot of those guys.
Oh yeah,
started pro wrestling.
Yes,
I remember Crow Cop kicking.
Funaki?
No, what's that?
The Mask.
They got the Mask, but that's
Karos.
Yeah, but he's
Fujita, Kazuki Fujita.
No, it was Dos Caros, but he's
what's that?
Libre?
No, he's a pro wrestler. He's a pro wrestler now. And then,
I love that.
Yeah, he was married to that, or he was dating that chick Paige for a minute in WWE.
Yeah.
What is he?
Yeah. What's his name, dude? Oh man, I can't remember. But yeah, he was the guy in the mask.
Del Rio.
Yeah, Del Rio. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Del Rio got kicked in the face, dude.
Yeah, wearing that mask, and you just see him bleeding out of the eye hole.
See, that's the thing that I loved about, and nothing will ever replace, is early MMA and Japanese freak shows. I mean, let's take a dude like Kazuyuki Fujita, there's no steroids left because he's done them all, and just throw him in the ring against Fedor, against Krokop. Why not? What could go wrong but a heroic?
But those guys were huge.
Yeah, they were huge, and they were tough as nails,
Bob
man.
Sapp and Dom Fry.
Oh yeah,
Brian Johnson.
When Dom Fry got the Pride, that dude was on a different level, man.
Dude,
he was like one of my favorite fighters to begin with.
He
like
was.
Dom Fry,
Because they didn't test for certain vitamins.
Sure.
Dom Fry, Ken Shamrock match in Pride.
Yeah, and you went
still
from
one of the greatest
UFC's here where maybe they had 12,000 people to an arena where there was 50,000.
The Tokyo Dome.
It was like what baseball is to us here.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, it was just nuts in the production. But I have a feeling they made a lot of money.
Yeah, they did well.
May not show now, bad decisions, but
so right now they have Rising going on over there in Japan, but it doesn't live up to like even Dream they had when they had Dream. That was still a big deal. The pageantry was still, but Rising's not the same. They've lost something.
It's just the whole competitive edge.
I think China has one FC.
Yeah, one FC.
That's pretty entertaining.
They're building that up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that's interesting to me is I think about, and you probably can weigh in this, Dan, too, in terms of just sheer numbers, right? I mean, the amount of people doing anything increases the talent pool. I just wonder how long it is till, like, Asia has more people doing MMA. I mean, because there's just so many people. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's like, what was the talent pool? What's the talent pool like now in jiu-jitsu, seeing people come in versus 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, it's huge. Like just the amount, because like back then, you had to figure that, for example, the female division, it was so small that you had brown belts competing against black belts.
Wow.
They would mix the divisions because they just didn't have enough. Wow. And what they did have, they didn't live here. They were in Brazil. That's like the first year that they had the Worlds here. They waited till, I think, 4 or 5 months out before they decided that they were going to have it here. So that cut down on a lot of the people that needed to rush, get their visas, and be able to make it here. But they still had, if I'm right, 1,500 competitors.
Damn.
Yeah. And So you figure there's 3 tiers as far as registration. You have your first one, a couple weeks in. I think it was like 95, 105, and then late registration was 125. So you get 1,500 people that just say $95. And that's huge. I think they saw the potential of what they could make in money. And it was 4 days. So unless you were a black belt competing on that last day, you had to pay $10 to be able to watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they were making money just, plus the vendors, and it was nuts.
Well, so we were talking about like pro wrestling and all these organizations growing. Do you think grappling will make a big stage eventually? Because I know they're working on it, and I see it getting bigger and bigger. It's crazy, but I think the stage is going to be bigger and bigger for grappling. I mean, I just see it growing every year.
It's incremental, but it is growing.
I think so, especially with like the EBI fights.
Yeah, Kasai.
Where it's just specific.
Yeah.
It may be no-gi, but it's still highlighted. Even the fight to wins.
Yeah, the fight to wins are
when
great.
he first started, it was kind of local. He did a few,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's in different states now. But the way he puts the show on, the way it's run, like it's just boom, boom, boom. There's no in between. There may be intermission, but that's it. I mean, the matches go.
Yeah.
They're good setups.
And
and it's
even the
cool
competitors.
because the areas, it highlights a lot of what big schools are there.
Yeah.
He makes sure to put those guys on the card, so it's good.
I've even noticed the competitors are putting a little more personality into everything too. I mean, that's why I seem like, oh, these guys are putting a little bit more.
They let them choose their walkout music
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but it's the light. It just gets everybody pumped.
Yeah.
And if you've been doing it, you notice when the guy, it's super quiet.
Yeah.
Everyone is focused and watching. You may
Yeah.
get the guys coaching on the side or
Yeah.
screaming how much time's left, but that's it.
It's
Yeah.
cool. It's
It's
Japan,
not. It's not people yelling or throwing shit or doing
Right.
anything. It's everyone is watching.
Yeah, I think
Appreciating the crowd.
Yeah.
the last, 4 that I've come to this area, I've been to the last 4, and I'm like, man, it's like the crowd is super involved, dude. They're so like you see a sweep, like almost attempt at a sweep, bam, they get crazy, they get quiet again.
Yeah, because they're people that enjoy it.
Yeah, I was just at that the Submission Pro Tour last Saturday, and these 2 little girls, dude, maybe 13, I could be wrong, maybe 13, and you would think that the best of the best are going at each other right there.
Really?
This match was grueling back and forth. I mean, and the audience going nuts. And there was it could have been a tap. I'm not sure if it was a tap. It could have been. The audience, they're going crazy. And they got a standing ovation. It was insane. Like, man, people are invested in it, And that's
Great. I mean,
Awesome,
it's
man.
only positive
Yeah.
for the sport.
What great feedback for those kids, though, too.
And even as popular it is, it's still a small community.
Right.
Yeah.
Meaning you can't go to a school and say, oh, well, I got this belt from this instructor.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still way too easy to verify
Yeah.
I like
your
that,
lineage or where you came from because everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Or someone knows that person and can verify.
There's at most 2 degrees.
And that's the best thing about jiu-jitsu is you earn your belt.
It's funny when you run into those people that have that sort of like,
Squishy credentials.
'cause there's been dudes that come in and are like, oh, so you started training? Oh, I've been training for a while. Where you training? That's where it gets quiet.
So where you
from
trained
so and so. I go, oh, you tra-
Well, it was my buddy's garage,
Yeah,
and he
exactly.
trained. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so you haven't trained before. Well, a little bit.
You learn chi blast.
Yeah.
Well,
The
I've seen like
Texas
some
Ninjas.
young dude, like maybe 17 with a pro belt, and he didn't know where he got his belt from. I was like, whoa, this is crazy, This is crazy. All right. I'm not going to say that.
Really?
Yeah,
You didn't know where you got his belt from?
Well, people, everybody here kind of knew, like, all right.
Oh, yeah.
So.
But that's the thing that I like about jiu-jitsu in a world where everything is increasingly watered down and everybody gets a participation ribbon. There are some standards. Because, let's face it, if we were going to go to the moon, we would want jiu-jitsu-like standards. I don't want an aeronautical engineer that got a participation ribbon in college, calculus and engineering to launch my rocket. I'd rather have Cassio, the engineer, do it.
right?
I mean, it's tough enough to do, but yeah.
Damn, that's funny, dude. But yeah, so do you think you'd ever get into tournaments?
I think now I don't want to say never.
Right.
With the them implementing the masters.
Right.
Which they didn't have before.
Yeah.
It's like all the older guys had the ability to compete in the adults. Megaton, Diaz.
Yeah.
That guy had done every
He was
world
beast.
for 13
Murderer.
years.
Yeah.
Straight
But he went out and had fun. and would do great against guys that were 20 years younger than him.
Yeah, that's the name that comes up when I talk to a guy that are in the master, like higher master division.
Yeah.
So like, dude, that's gonna be the guy in my division, and everybody's like,
Because
I think I'll mow the
when
lawn
he
that
competes, he competes to win, but he has fun. I mean, you could just see it in his face. Like, he's always smiling, he's always happy. Like, that's a guy that loves to compete.
Because I'm telling you right now, if I seen Dan walk on the stage in an A2, I don't want no part of it, dude. I don't want no part.
I got things
I don't
to
know
do.
if I'd fit in an A2,
Hey,
but
that's what I'm saying. If you walk in the A2, I don't want no part
I'd
of
fake
it.
it. Yeah. But like I said, I mean, I never want to say never.
Right.
You know, I'm always going to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
It's just getting the mindset.
Yeah.
You know, I train enough. I should be able to do it, but I would have to focus more on and wanting to do it, not just to do it to compete.
Yeah.
You know.
One thing that's interesting too is especially being on the teaching end, Dan, you know, when you're trying to impart things to people of such varying athletic levels, varying temperaments, varying abilities, how much do you modulate and change how you teach based on your read of the person? Are you that flexible that way, or is it just, has time given you the approach of, I just got to present it this way, and if it takes, it takes, it doesn't? How much leeway is there in your approach based on?
I think what
depending on who the
helps
person
me,
is?
at least with the adults, is the fact that I teach the kids. So teaching the kids forces me to remember all the basics that I learned.
Yeah.
And then being able to explain to them in a way that they understand it. You know, breaking it down. And then in turn that helps me with the adults. And then, you know, running my basics class.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Don't go over anything super fancy. It's what it is. It's the basics, the
Well,
foundation. And I try to explain to people that you have all these fancy positions and backflips and cartwheels, but if you don't know the basics, you'll never get to that position.
And that's one thing I do appreciate about your class, Dan, is that I know I ask a million questions, and you're more than happy to show me the details that I'm missing because, I mean, let's face it, dude, I'm like the worst at drilling. But I don't feel bad when I know that you're patient enough to like, actually show me, because there's been times like at other academies I'm like, I just don't get it. I'm like, I don't want to say nothing. And I'll take a bad habit with me.
Yeah,
You know,
totally,
and that's like when I have people come in
door.
wanting to try it out or don't really know what jiu-jitsu is, or if it's their first class, I'll tell them, don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, I guarantee you there's 2 other people that have that same question, but don't want to be the person that gets spotlighted to ask. I said, I'll show the same position 100 times if I have to. I'd rather do that than show it a few times. Okay, any questions? You know, people stare at the floor or, you know, look at the ground, and 2 minutes later I have to bring everybody back in because it's like they weren't paying attention. So I would rather explain it, show it, break it down to where people understand. One of the things I like to do is I'll compare a position if it applies to what I'm teaching. And then sometimes people will grasp that concept a little better.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes you even get a little extra. Once you get it, like, after I ask Dan a couple questions, you'll be like, well, at the end, it'll switch into this.
Yeah.
Like, damn, that just like put the cherry on the top because I learned something more, you know?
It with you.
I struggled on that last piece, and when I got it, you gave me the little extra step to make it to the next move.
You know, and everything's taught in steps.
Yeah.
You know, step 1, step 2, step 3. If you go from step 1 to step 3, you're not doing step 1 correctly to open up step 2, and then step 2 to step 3.
Right.
You know, if you jump, you're not going to get the position. You're not going to understand it. You know, the best way to explain it is like chess.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just tell someone, okay, you move this one this way or that way. You have to explain to them what pieces can go backwards, what pieces can go sideways, and then being that 1 or 2, 3 steps ahead. You know, there's a counter for every position. So that's why it's just a big circle. It just goes and goes and goes.
And that's why
and you
hate
never
to miss Monday class.
You never stop learning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I try to tell like people that never trained before, that think about trying to go, you need to come into a dance class on a Monday.
Yeah,
because
that's the route.
People
where
will
you get what you're gonna.
Yeah, because at first I'm not gonna lie, dude, I was intimidated by you. I'm like, man, this dude's intense.
Me
you know?
too.
well. I mean, you
scary.
got to figure. You know,
Yeah.
especially the other academy.
Yeah.
People that come in that have never done jiu-jitsu or stepped in a gym. You know, we have big classes.
Yeah.
30, 40, 45 people.
Yeah.
So you come in and there aren't a lot of small guys that train there. So it's like, you know, people get intimidated. But then once they talk to people or someone comes over and greets them, then they kind of calm down a little bit. That's why we always have people watch classes first, make sure they understand, you know, what's going on, It's something they want to do, and especially when women come in.
Yeah.
Make sure to let them know, hey, there's 8 or 10 girls that train consistently, so you'll always have somebody to train with, because we've had women come in that just can't get past that closeness.
Yeah, it's tough enough when you're an untrained dude.
Yeah.
Or even a trained dude.
Right.
I mean, I think that really is the mark of any school, that if you can keep and retain a core of women that train there.
Yeah.
Because that's really,
Because
when you're
it's
welcoming
hard
me,
for
it's tough
them
enough.
to have to train with guys, but it's practical application.
Exactly.
If they were to ever have to use it,
Yeah.
they're used to training with guys that are 185 pounds, that are 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So when they get in those uncomfortable positions, they're less likely to panic.
Right. Actually, that's a good way to put it out there, you know?
Yeah, no, man, I haven't rolled with a few. I'm not worried about how they do it all.
You know, because there are some girls that, you know, you look and, okay, I'm going to roll light, but that is one of the biggest mistakes you make.
Cross face hella hard.
Because the good thing about the women is they're super technical, and they have to be because of the size and strength difference.
Yeah.
So it's really good to roll with them because they apply everything like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about myself, since training here, and especially coming to your classes almost every Monday as I can, man, and my buddies have told me that I don't train with regularly. They're like, dude, you got more precise on everything, you know?
Really?
They said that you've lost a lot of fat, because before I would rely more on my strengths, my size, and my weight, you know? And now I feel like, man, you know, with what you show me, I'm like, I got to cut all that off. I got to cut it all off.
Yeah.
And I feel it when I leave. I'm like, damn, you know, I feel like a better.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there'll be times that we'll teach techniques that may not apply to your game.
Right.
But it's still good to learn them. Because if
Exactly.
you get someone that likes to work inverted guard or likes to work spider guard or lasso, you recognize it, and then you can start to work your defense to it.
Yeah.
You know, but if you don't learn that stuff or you don't worry about it or you just stick to one direction, you get to those positions and it's like you get frustrated, don't know what to do. So it's always good to have an open mind.
Right. Yeah, and then these moves that you show lately, I'm serious. The last few classes, the details, rolling with friends, these are like the go-to move because it's like the last thing that I really absorbed, you know, in my head, and I kind of like stick to it. I even try to hit the move of the day you teach in class. I try my hardest. Hit the move of the day, so I get used to that real life struggle, you know?
Well, you get like a real reaction.
Yeah.
As opposed to when you watch videos or
Yeah.
you see the guy just kind of lets him get it, and every person you try it on is going to have a different reaction to it. So it allows you to fine tune that position. May not get it the first or second time, but it'll just be muscle memory. It'll be easy. You get there, you know what to expect when they defend. So it's good, and that's why it's good to drill.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, we're about an hour in, and yeah, exactly. So this flew by, man. We're gonna have to do part 2 because
Yeah, for sure.
Man,
I'm sure there were more questions we didn't get to.
Yeah, I only got to 2 questions. We just started talking. My bad, people. But hey, man, we'll be back soon. And Dan, how can people contact you if they want to talk to you or just communicate?
I basically live at our main academy. I mean, I don't, but
I thought you lived there for a long time.
That's where you can find me. If I'm not at work, I'm at the gym. So through our website.
Yeah.
But I'm there with the exception of Mondays, 7 days a week.
Nice.
Mostly evenings because I have to have a real job during the day, which kind of cuts into
I really believe that you trained all day.
You know, honestly, I wish that I could.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have to pay my bills.
Because I'm like, man, he's lifting weights. He's teaching classes. Like, how do you have time, you know? Then I look at myself like, you piece of shit.
You're right. I know.
But like I tell
Lazy
people,
ass.
if I was to ever get stalked, they'd get bored. I'm at work, I'm at home, or I'm at the gym. Like
the
there's
most
no
unexciting
variation.
stalking
Yeah.
part.
You know, but even if, you know, people that do train
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 days a week, I tell people it's how you utilize that time. You could be there every day, but if you don't train, if you train 1 or 2 rounds and you sit out, somebody that comes twice a week that drills and rolls every round is going to slowly start to get past where you're at. So, because there's some people that can only train once a week or maybe twice a week. And I'll tell them, utilize that time when you're here. You know, roll every other round or roll as much as you can. Ask questions. Try and learn as much because you don't have the luxury of some people that can train every day, twice a day.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. So we're going to see you soon, and thanks for the listen. Today's podcast is brought to you by Royal Star Inc., custom t-shirts. Hey guys, do you ever go out looking for t-shirts but you can't find what you want? Or maybe you have an idea of something you want to put on the t-shirt? Or does your team not look like a team because you guys are wearing old logos, mismatching, different colors? That's not a good look. But Rudy at Royal Star Inc. got you covered. Hit them up for quality t-shirts, custom designs, fast turnarounds. They look great, they feel great. For sure, you've seen me rocking their gear before, and I'm going to tell you some of the best stuff I have. Follow them on Instagram at Royal Star Inc. Improving our world by improving our community, by improving ourselves. The mission at Werneck Family Jiu-Jitsu is simple yet global in the scope. They provide world-class instruction in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a fun, family-friendly environment. They want to help every student reach their full potential both as an individual and a contributing member to society. It's a fun place, so guys, if you want to get in shape, if you want to challenge yourself, bring your family in, bring your friends in. We'll see you there. Werneck Family Jiu-Jitsu, located at 1801 Taylor Road, Suite 10, right next to In-N-Out. Call 916-771-0525. Ask for Darren. Inspiring musician, future podcasters. If you're looking to jump into this business, look no further than Tony Edelman at the Mystery School Podcast. For your editing, mixing, and mastering needs, get your sound right. He has a cool podcast too, guys, so give it a check. So if you really want to do this and you're looking for the right sound, Tony is the man. Hit him up on Instagram at the Mystery School Podcast. Tell him Mitchell sent you.